Ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely my distinct honor and privilege to be allowed to introduce to you our keynote speaker today. But before I introduce Erich, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Erich Roden, the man. I've had the incredible pleasure of working with Erich now for the last 8 years. And during that time, I've had to ask him to do Herculean feats, and he's never hesitated. During the last 8 years, I've had numerous occasions where I needed a trusted and competent ally, and Erich has always had my back. There are few people you meet in life that you know you can trust implicitly, and Erich Roden is one of those people. We talk a lot here at FDIC about character, about virtue, about service. Well, Erich Roden lives a life of unparalleled character. He is a man of impeccable virtue, and he has dedicated himself to the service of others. Erich is one of the men I look up to for guidance in troubled times, for support in difficult moments. It's been one of the greatest blessings of my life to have been able to share time and friendship with Erich Roden. And many years from now, when the insignificant contributions of men like me have long faded into the memory of firefighters, Erich Roden will still be a giant in our industry. Erich Roden will still be looked up to as a man who was ahead of his time, yet deeply involved in his time. Erich Roden will be remembered as a man who contributed without hesitation and who thought nothing of recognition or reward. Erich Roden will be remembered as a firefighter's firefighter. And now a little bit about my good friend, Chief Erich Roden. Erich Roden is a 21-year veteran with the Milwaukee Fire Service, a battalion chief who is currently assigned to the training division. As head of the Milwaukee Fire Training Division, Erich oversees a staff of 21 personnel and is responsible for training over 1,000 members in such programs as recruit academies, professional development, public education and outreach, research development, and in-service and company-based training. He's also working on several ongoing projects, including a major resource allocation neighborhood risk study with researchers from Harvard University and the University of Chicago. Erich serves as an editor with the Penwell Fire Engineering and Urban Firefighter magazines, the Fire Engineering Books and Video Division, and he is our education director for the Fire Engineering's University. He's also a member of the FDIC Executive Advisory Board and is the lead instructor for the Urban Essentials hands-on training class. He has served many years as an instructor in the FDIC Engine Company Hot Operations class and is also an instructor with the Milwaukee Area Technical College and has taught various conferences and fire schools around the country and in Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, family and friends, without any further ado, Battalion Chief Erich Roden.
That ought to be mute that whole thing.
Hey, can I get a ride to FDIC? All right, FDIC, we have thousands watching online today, so let's make some noise so they all hear what they're missing at FDIC 2014. Come on. Woo! So who's off to a good start to the week so far? And with a show of applause, who here took the opportunity to take some hands-on training while they're in town? Outstanding. I know I'm off to an incredible start, folks, because we just graduated over 200 more Urban Essentials Hot Class alumni on Monday and Tuesday. They're surely beginning the week rougher, tougher, leaner, and meaner for the experience. And I'm extremely proud of our instructors as they do a tremendous job each year showing you how to kill tough buildings to get at some fire. Now, I know you're all sitting there wondering, who the heck is this guy giving the keynote address today? Don't worry. You're asking yourself a rhetorical question because I'm the most famous guy in the fire service no one's ever heard of. I've been around for a while, and as Bobby mentioned, I'm honored to be involved in many things going on at Fire Engineering and FDIC. And although it may seem they let me do whatever I want for them, I've actually enjoyed being a behind-the-scenes guy, helping to bring your hard work and ideas to life. But, as you can probably infer from Bobby's introduction, you can also guess what type of person I am. And with that, today I am willing to make a startling revelation to you all this morning. I am an overachiever. Now, to my family, friends, coworkers, and chiefs sitting in the front row, this may come as a complete shock. And please assist my wife back into her chair because I think she just fainted. Thank you. But I have another revelation for you all as well. You're all overachievers too. Sorry, folks, but it's true. And today we are going to celebrate the fact that over 30,000 of you came to this very place to spend a week with other overachievers. Although you may only represent 2.5% of the collective fire service, your knowledge, passion, and drive to be here means you definitely have a 100% chance of influencing others when you get home. That's because it's our overachievers that spend every waking moment making themselves and the job better. So today, I'm not going to talk about the latest fire service trend. I'm not going to talk about the latest tactic or even what color smoke you can expect to see in 2014. I'm here to talk about us because we're all operating on a different level in the fire service. It's this other level that makes the fire service what it is and why those who operate on this level are so important. See, there's a place on the fire ground that is considered the most dangerous place to operate. It's where many heroes are made and where many have lost their lives. I'm talking about the floor above the fire. The floor above the fire can be hot, dangerous, lonely, and exciting all at once. And those assigned to operate there usually do so outside of the visual purview of the rest of those on the fire ground. But those that come back from the floor above are more humble, knowledgeable, and stronger than they were moments ago, and they always look forward to the next trip. It is this metaphor that I'm going to speak to today because those that never look for the proverbial stairs to the floor above will miss out on an entirely different place in the fire service. Many of us truly have no idea what our experiences and career truly have to offer. And if we don't perpetually look for those stairs, many others will miss out on our own potential discoveries and successes. So let's hence refer to overachieving in the fire service as operating above. It's easiest if I put faces to those you'll find on the floor above. So today I'm going to introduce you to several overachievers that share what you already have in you. And I want you to see that you're all going to be able to compare yourselves to many of these individuals in one way or another. This is the exciting thing about today, folks. Just because you spent your hard-earned cash to come to FDIC doesn't make you a de facto overachiever. It's what brought you here that does. And that, folks, is what makes you all great. Here's Peyton Manning. Now, I know you all know he's a 5-time MVP and a tremendous quarterback, but how did he get that way? Genetics? His NFL family dynasty? How many of you actually know about his work ethic? I bet you'd think everyone in the locker room would hang on every word coming out of his mouth. What if I told you it's actually quite the opposite? Everyone avoids him at all costs because he's known to grab any one of his teammates at a moment's notice and ask them about their positioning and route on a certain play, even as they're walking out of the shower. He loves to catch them off guard with an impromptu quiz, but he surely instills a point in his teammates of knowing their job every second of the day. He's also been known to wear his helmet while eating breakfast at home in the morning so he can listen to the recordings of his coach's play calling inside his helmet. Anyone thinks he's over the top? Of course he is. But ask yourself this: do you think he's always ready? Now let's try a guy I know you've never heard of. His name is Chris Cassidy, and obviously, he's an astronaut. Now, it's common sense that you have to be an overachiever to become an astronaut in the first place, but what if I told you he also dabbles in a little side work as a U.S. Navy SEAL? Yep, that's right, folks. While Iran may be looking to build a bomb and rogue nations continue to play chicken, we've got a Navy SEAL astronaut floating around up there, so I'm not worried about a damn thing, folks. But the real reason I'm introducing you to Chris is to show you an extreme example that there is no over the top. And although none of us in this room will likely become NFL MVPs or Navy SEAL astronauts, you're going to do just as many good things if you seek to operate above. Without a doubt, it's quite an accomplishment to become a pro football player, an astronaut, or a Navy SEAL, and of course, a firefighter. But it's those who continually seek out every opportunity their career truly has to offer that find true self-actualization. And it can be attributed to the common traits and virtues that I'll share with you today. I'm now going to introduce you to a few of the overachievers in our immediate family who've influenced the fire service, and me especially, and can truly show you how to make the most out of your careers. This is FDNY Commissioner John T. O'Hagan. Firefighting historians and purists may know his amazing backstory, but for those who aren't familiar with him, he was a commissioner of the FDNY from 1973 to 1978. I'm not showing you his photo today to marvel at his reaching the top spot in the largest fire department in the country. I'm not showing his photo because he was able to do it, incredibly, by the age of 39. I'm showing you the very man that invented the tower ladder, super pumpers, municipal data-driven deployment, and how you inspect, protect, and fight high-rise fires to this very day. That's a tremendous amount of overachieving in a short amount of time. Commissioner O'Hagan exuded the dearest of overachiever virtues, initiative. O'Hagan could have followed the script and hung out for a while in his successive ranks while climbing the career ladder. He could have spent time gaining time on the job that easily comes simply by showing up to work over the course of many years, but he had other plans. He knew the only way to make significant changes in his organization was to get into a position with the authority to make them happen. O'Hagan saw what was missing in the fire service and diligently went after it. That's truly operating above. And he forever broke the mold of the established rite of passage that everyone seems so hung up on. What mold will you break in your careers? After O'Hagan broke the mold, hierarchical rank didn't seem to be the first thing people noticed anymore around the country. And we realized that all ranks have people with the gift of enlightenment. Individuals that show us how to do great things with the tools that are right in front of us or in our very hands. Here's Andrew Fredericks. If you've never seen his work or heard his name mentioned in every engine company operations class here at FDIC, you'll never have to guess who we're talking about when we mention the name Andy. In September 1995, Andy wrote the seminal article, Return of the Solid Stream. It was a shorty in magazine vernacular, but it was this momentous article by a young and relatively unknown FDNY firefighter that brought attention back to the most important unit in the fire service, the engine company. At that time, every trade magazine seemed to publish every truck article they could, and no one was talking about the engine back then. Now I'll let you in on the worst-kept fire service secret. The engine in most major cities has always been regarded as a place you hang out at until you finally have the juice to get to a truck. Unless you're a Chiefs kid, of course. And are the ones forced to suffer the unrelenting beating that is urban EMS. As a result of this fable, the engine lost the respect it never should have. But Andy didn't buy this dismissive philosophy. Rather, Andy spent every waking moment of his fire service life making it cool to be in the engine again. And to this day, no one has been able to accomplish that like Andy did. And we in the engine at that time were all lucky to have been a part of his revolution. Sadly, we all lost Andy on September 11th, 2001. But he has forever shown us the path to enlightenment on this job. This speech is for you, Andy, because you'll always be there operating above to guide us to greatness. Thank you. Folks, the floor above is rife with the virtuous. And perhaps the most remarkable virtue of all is bravery. All firefighters do brave things every day, but some demonstrate those few remarkable acts of bravery that will forever be ingrained in the minds of us all. Here's one for example. This is FDNY Rescue 1 firefighter Kevin Shea on May 5th, 1991, dangling from a rope off a 12-story building in Midtown Manhattan. Kevin is obviously demonstrating immense bravery by putting his life at great personal risk, as it's always written for Medal Day write-ups. And 2 years after this photo was taken, Kevin responded to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and was seriously hurt after falling 50 feet into a crater while climbing through the rubble. And although Kevin retired after suffering career-ending injuries as a result, he was still one of the first to volunteer his help by rushing to the 2001 World Trade Center attack, climbing over different rubble this time, but just as determined as the day he went over that ledge in 1991. If you know Kevin, you'll also know he's never missed an FDIC, and if you see him, please stop him in the hall and say hello. And also discover he's also one of the most friendliest guys you'll ever meet. I'm using this photo of Kevin's rescue for 2 reasons. To show you Kevin extolling the virtue of true bravery during one of the most iconic fire service rescues ever captured on film, and to show you someone else you can't see in this photo. Next to the bulkhead, obscured by smoke, was a young firefighter from Ladder 24 with that very rope tied around his waist, serving as a human anchor for Kevin and the victim. His name was Ray McCormick, and he displayed a tremendous act of courage that day to put the lives of 2 people in his very hands as he held that rope with everything he had. Courage is also a defining virtue of the overachiever, and Ray exhibited that very same courage at the 2009 FDIC during his keynote address. Ray gave a speech that forever put fire service culture into the conversation of risk versus reward, doing so at great personal risk. While some felt Ray's message sparked a fire service civil war, others realized there might be more to the conversation that wasn't being considered. And Ray has since crusaded on behalf of those beliefs. Ray also keeps an eye on things and rightfully vets those who seem to have earned their PhD in contemporary fire behavior overnight. You can't fool Ray, and his sage advice is just as important to the conversation as a scientist taking readings from a thermocouple during a test fire. Thank you. And the fire service is not without its share of overachieving scientists researching all that fire and water have to offer. In fact, Keith Royer and Floyd Nelson were 2 overachieving and ambitious researchers who brought us game-changing Iowa fire formulas and methods of fire attack in the 1950s that are still being taught to this very day. Well, at least they were until a few months ago. See, we don't call them Keith and Floyd anymore. We call them Steve and Dan. And not since Royer and Nelson have 2 individuals had the ability to start a contemporary conversation of firefighting effectiveness by utilizing proven and groundbreaking fire-based research. Steve Kerber and Dan Majorkowski took hypothetical risk versus reward and began quantifying it for the first time, rather than anecdotally theorizing it and mudding up the conversation. And it's this conversation that you'll be hearing about all week in the great classes right outside those doors behind you. And I want you all to listen and join in on the conversation too. What I'm getting at is that Ray and the scientists are right. So let's end this stupid civil war by listening to both of them, because in the end they're all professional overachievers. Folks, being professional is the hardest of virtues to earn in the fire service, but there are tons of overachievers that can put faces to professionalism. Captain Robert Morris is an easy one. He's perhaps the Peyton Manning of the fire service because he didn't tolerate anything but professionalism from his people. It's all business with him. And Captain Morris gave us all 3 encompassing words that will get you through any door or out of any building: gap, set, and force. This didactic gave birth to how everyone teaches forcible entry and spawned countless teaching groups across the country. And along with 3 other famous words, vent, enter, and search, Morris's 3 words have become the American truck company. Captain Morris enjoys this job more than anyone I know, working every day he could in this job until, unfortunately, he was superannuated by the FDNY last year. That's human resources speak for, have to retire because you've reached maximum age. He took in every second of every shift and never thought about retirement until he was told he had to. In fact, there's a rumor that the brass didn't schedule him to work the day tour on his birthday. But he told them that he was born late at night on his birthday, so he technically could work during the day. I'd like to steal a phrase made famous by another FDNY rescue icon to sum up his career. He was the type of firefighters young ones hope to be like, and old ones wish they had been. Thanks for everything, Captain Morris. All right, I know I've been talking about New York guys all morning, so now I'll talk about a few in my job who also share the virtues of the aforementioned. Guys like Jason Mims and Jordan Ponder, who is also a professional bodybuilder and a brand new captain, who spends as much time in the department's books as he does at the gym. These two are working on groundbreaking human performance research with an army of PhDs and students to develop a program that will turn us all into peak occupational athletes. We're out of excuses for not being fit, folks, and these two are showing us the way. Brent Jones, who is bringing back and reinventing our honor guards one department at a time. Brent is ensuring that the pomp and circumstance that epitomizes our image lives on. I'd also like to congratulate Brent, as he was also recently made Deputy Commander of the IAFF's Honor Guard. Paul Conway, who started making products firefighters actually wanted to use right out of his own basement, eventually turning Paul Conway Shields into a booming business. And he didn't have to go to business school to do it. He went to fires. Me? I'm also trying to stay hot on Commissioner O'Hagan's heels. Like him, I've set out to look at data in an entirely different way with some elite academic institutions. But this time, we don't have to rely on stopwatches and notepads because we now have the systems and econometrics to do more with data than ever before. Folks, we're also out of melodramatic rhetoric for City Hall, so I'm out to show how important you really are to your communities, rather than simply why you are. Now, you're probably thinking that I'm also biased and that you have to come from a big city to have a big impact on the fire service. To the contrary. Anyone know this guy? Of course you do. Because no one in fire service history has ever had the reach Billy Goldfeder does. And he didn't have to have a certain four-letter acronym on the back of his coat to do it. So how did he do it? See, Al Gore didn't invent the internet because Billy was using it long before any of us even had a computer to spread the message of firefighter safety and doing the right thing. An overachiever from Long Island, Billy has influenced everyone, even guys like me who didn't buy the message when it first came out, even airing my contempt for some of his stuff on the very web Billy used to get it out. That was until I realized I was starting to wear my seatbelt a little more. And often getting on guys about wearing their bunker gear properly. See, overachievers can't stop pushing their message, even when jerk overachievers like me dismiss it. Because in the end, everyone will get the right part of the message. So much so that there were guys in my firehouse that wouldn't make trades to work with then Captain Erich Roden because he made you wear your seatbelt. Thanks, Billy. Finally, here's Chuck Olson and Ben Kranick. They're from a small city in Wisconsin called Manitowoc. It's a nice town, but what makes that town great are these two guys. These two inseparable guys go to every class, seminar, and conference they can physically get to. They can't get enough of this job. Everywhere I go, I see Chuck and Ben soaking up lectures and being first in class to try what the instructor just showed them. You could put these two guys in the busiest and best companies in the world and they'd be leading drill that day. See, you don't have to have big city cred, a famous idea that becomes the next big trend, or even the reach of a Goldfeder to operate above. All you need is what's inside Chuck and Ben and realize that the path to greatness and the floor above starts with you. Okay, folks. It's about time for me to wrap this up. But I'd be remiss not to save the hardest working individuals in the fire service for last. I'm talking about the members of the Milwaukee Fire Department's Training Academy. Fire academies are always the epicenter of overachievement in any fire department, and I'm extremely proud of the 23 individuals I get to work with at mine on a daily basis. I don't have the time to talk about them all individually, so I thought I'd give them the honor of putting their faces up on the big screen at the big show. and at the Oscars, they start playing boring theatrical music when it's time to give you the hook. So I thought I'd beat FDIC to the punch, have some overachiever theme music play me off instead. So while I show you these last photos, I'll leave you with a few questions to answer before we leave. Hit it, FDIC. Okay, who has what it takes to follow in their own footsteps? Who should be on this very stage next year? And who has what it takes to change the fire service forever? I'll tell you. Better yet, let me show you. How about you? FDIC, get on your feet and give yourselves a round of applause. I'd like to thank you all for listening to me today, and to Bobby Hall and Diane Rothschild and my fellow FDIC board members for giving me this chance of a lifetime. And a very special thanks to Eddie Buchanan. Thanks so much, brother. I'm Erich Roden. And remember, folks, it's your career. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you.